Recorded. There you go. That kind of confirms it. And we'll make the panel discussion available to you a week from now. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Amal Tabaku, and I'm the Community Services Officer with MCASS and also your MC for tonight's Networking Social. Tonight, we have an amazing panel prepared in honor of World Refugee Week on a conversation with inspiring Canadian refugees, where we'll be talking about and celebrating the incredible contributions of Canadian refugees in all areas of life, including the sciences, sports, and business. But before we dive with the introductions, I would like to start with a land acknowledgement to remind ourselves of our roles and responsibilities as settlers on this land. And also today, we celebrate National Indigenous Peoples Day. We acknowledge the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. So our goal tonight is to have bright minds share a bit about their lived experiences and their real successes as Canadian refugees, to foster learning, inspiration, and wonder, and encourage our Muslim youth to always aim for the stars. So here's the format to give you an idea of what to expect for the evening. We'll take a few moments to introduce MCASS and the work that we do, and thereafter I will briefly introduce each of the panelists and tell you a little bit about their professional backgrounds. And then the second half of our time tonight will be the panel discussion moderated by Mohasma, the other Community Services Officer with MCASS. After this, we'll open up the floor to give you an opportunity to ask specific questions to our panelists that you may have been thinking about throughout. Sounds good, so great, let's get started with the introduction. So Muslim Children's Aid and Support Services, otherwise known as MCASS, is an Ontario-based nonprofit created in 2004. We're now a registered charity. Our goal is to be a child protection and support agency for Muslim individuals and families in the GTA. We strive to empower Muslim families to improve their familial, social, and cultural well-being. Through our programs and services, MCASS helps Muslim families who have come into contact with child welfare assistance and child protection systems. We also work with Muslim newcomer families, including both immigrants, refugees, non-status peoples. We inclusively serve those who are marginalized, vulnerable, undeserved in the Muslim community, regardless of identity. One of our unique programs, Scarborough Simbas, is a soccer program, and the goal of it is to create recreational and wellness opportunities for refugees, newcomers, underprivileged, and at-risk Muslim youth. Because we see the amazing benefit of using sports and recreational activities as a tool to empower and ease settlement journeys into Canada. So here are a few beautiful photos of our kids playing on the soccer field. Another one of our unique programs is Lives Are Written in Mind, Body, and Spirit. This is a program in collaboration with 8 partners, where MCASS is the lead agency. And in this program, we provide wraparound services, events, workshops to newcomer children to help them learn and grow. It was a program that we ran between October 2020 to March 2021, and we hope to expand and carry this throughout the summer months as well. Many of the programs in Lives Are Written included mindfulness training, gardening, food literacy, STEM, and social circus as well. So here's a photo of some of the past Lives Are Written group participants. So World Refugee Day was actually celebrated June 20th. This year's theme is inclusion, which emphasizes the advantages to both refugees and their host countries of integrating refugee populations into national health, education, and employment systems. Inclusion is important because it fosters self-reliance, enabling refugees to contribute to the local host communities, as well as rebuild their countries upon returning home. And we at MCASS support the inclusion of refugee children and families through our recreational community programs and services, which further help refugees seamlessly integrate into our society at large. And next up, we have the panelist introductions. First one is Deniz Dogan. He's a first-generation Turkish-Canadian born in Istanbul, Turkey, and he moved to Canada in 2002. Deniz holds a bachelor's degree in political sciences from the University of Waterloo and has recently left his position as a supply chain analyst to work on getting his MBA from Wilfrid Laurier University. Next up, we have Noor Abdullah. Noor is a recent interior decorating graduate from Algonquin College. She was born and raised in Aleppo, Syria, and she moved to Canada in the winter of 2017. Noor has competed in Carleton University's swimming team and Algonquin College's Thunder Women's basketball team. During her time in Canada, Noor has volunteered and worked with a sports organization that supports children from low-income families. She was also a lifeguard and a swimming instructor at public swimming pools. Noor is currently an Arabic teacher at Al Yasmin Arabic School and part-time interior decorator at Yvonne Potter Interior Design Company. And finally, the third panelist of tonight is Mohamed Alara. He is a Syrian Canadian. He was one of the Syrian refugees who came to Canada in 2016. Mohamed lived in a refugee camp in Lebanon before coming to Canada. And although his family, and including himself, were provided food and water, he spent 4 years without access to education. However, after moving to Canada, 6 academic awards and a scholarship later, Mohamed is a student of aerospace engineering at Carleton University. If there's one thing to take away from all of this, is definitely the power of perseverance and the courage to hold onto your dreams that all of the panelists tonight share. So just before I pass it over to Mohazama, who will be the moderator of tonight, I will just want to touch briefly on some of the event rules. This discussion, as I mentioned, is being recorded, and we also welcome and greatly encourage your participation and questions. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box and wait until the Q&A session for them to be answered. And please keep your mic muted at all other times. So Mohazama, Dennis, Noor, and Mohammed, you may take it away.
Sorry about that. It was just the mic not letting me unmute myself. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here today moderating the panel discussion around a very much needed topic. For the purpose of this panel, I would like to define refugee as a person who has been forced to leave their country in order to escape war, persecution, or natural disaster. We are here today to celebrate the successes and be enlightened by the lived experiences, perseverance, and challenges they have endured in order to excel and accomplish their goals. Without further ado, I'd like to begin with my first question. So, what has helped ease your settlement journey to Canada? And this can be anything from resources to family members or support services. And you know what they say, ladies first. So I'd like to begin with Noor.
Perfect. Thank you so much. What helped to easy the whole journey, or maybe the beginning of it, is that I started working right away from the third day. And that really helped me just get in the system and just learn a lot more about what's coming and what I need to work on and what I need to achieve. And obviously just having a job or having something to wake up in the morning for is definitely a key for to have a successful day or a year or life.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Noor. I can imagine having something to wake up to every morning. That definitely helps have a schedule and have something to look forward to, of course. So next, I'd like to turn to Mohammed. I'd like to hear if you had any similar experiences or what may have been different for you.
Yeah, first, hi everyone. Thank you very much for coming to this event and thank you for the invitation. Yeah, so when I came to Canada, I didn't know English, I didn't know French, and it was very challenging. And I think the thing, like one thing that helped me and helped my family a lot was the support from the government, service support. So basically, when we arrived at the immigration center, assign a client for each family, new family, to basically help them, like in everyday, like help them. Let's say they have, and then like learn about Canada and help them about basically doing everyday tasks. And yeah, so I think this is this is one thing. For example, in my family, we had a person who used to contact if we have, like, let's say we get a paper on the mail and we don't know how to what is going on, so we just send it to them. And yeah, so this was for just 1 year. Yeah, so this is one thing I
That's great. Thank you, Mohammed, for sharing with us. And lastly, Dennis, did you find any overlap, and tell us about your experience?
Sure. So I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me to be a part of this panelist discussion today. I'd love to share with my experiences with you, so I'm thankful for that opportunity. So I believe my experiences are a little different from both Noor and Mohammed, in the sense that I came back to Canada in 2002. So I was in elementary school at the time. I didn't necessarily realize the severity of the situation while we were leaving back home in Turkey. But so with regards to like your first question about easing the settlement journey to Canada, I know that we didn't really have any family or relatives here already to kind of help us. And to a certain extent, my parents decided that they wanted to kind of just stay away from the existing Turkish community and such. Uh, I don't necessarily know the reasons why, but because of that, the settlement journey wasn't necessarily easy as a result. But we were definitely helped a lot with the kindness of strangers, especially working in support services, and by teachers throughout the schools. They've not only been such great role models, but they've definitely went out of their ways to just kind of encourage us. And for when I say us, I mean me and my younger sister. And they definitely helped change our lives, and we're forever grateful for it. So we learned English through the support workers and through school. We got enrolled because of the support workers, and they provided a place place for us to live, helped us with the applications and seeking asylum, and finding a job, and absolutely everything in between. So
Amazing. Thank you, Dennis. It's so cool to see how all three of you had such different experiences, but I'm glad to see that they've all helped you all reach where you are today. Moving on to my next question. So there's always a special story behind why people choose a certain career path, and the three of you are in very different fields of study. So that being said, what motivated you to choose the career path that you're in right now? And I'd like to start this time with Mohammed.
Well, I don't know about the audience, if there are a lot of them in high school or not. But anyway, I'll assume many of the audience from the high school students or maybe university students. But yeah, when I started my, I mean, as Emil mentioned, when I came here to Canada, I didn't go to school for more than 4 years. And that gap actually affected me a lot. And I lost hope. Like I didn't remember, like for mathematics and physics, I remembered a few formulas, but I didn't know exactly how they should be used. Also for English and French, I didn't know how to speak English, but I knew few words, few sentences, but exactly. Also, I didn't know how to use them in speaking. Uh, what motivated me about this was when I start high school, and after starting high school and like getting my first mark in mathematics was very low, and then after that, the second after a couple months, I saw a progress in math and physics, and then from there I was like, this is something I will be doing I should be doing, and it's something I'm comfortable with, something interesting to me, and I don't feel tired of doing. So this is something like after doing a lot of math and physics, I was motivated to do something about technology, and the something that I really love is space exploration. I really wanted to learn about space. These incredible machines like airplanes, rockets, all of that. And also I was inspired by many astronauts out there. So I really found it something very inspiring, and that motivated me a lot to start and have this goal to become an aerospace engineer. And yeah, I'm on my way, almost there. but hopefully we will get there and we'll get a good job at the end. And yeah,
Yes,
so I hope.
hopefully. Hopefully. Thank you for that, Mohammed. And your story just shows that with like courage and persistence, you can achieve whatever you want. And I love that. I love that. That's amazing. Next, I'd like to turn to Dennis and hear what you have to say.
Thanks. So a bit of a similar experience. I definitely didn't end up missing 4 years. For me, it was maybe just halfway through kind of a school year, and me coming in elementary school. The only thing I really fell behind was just simple arithmetic. But I found that I kind of had a passion working with data, looking at numbers, making predictions, forecasts, but I never really thought of it as a career option. So the way kind of things worked for me, I was still doing my bachelor's degree in political science, and I was looking for a summer job. So I applied to a place where my mom worked, looking for extra income, uh, making income on a factory floor, making car parts. But when I applied, the maintenance supervisor there, I happened to catch his eye through my resume and stuff. And so he asked me if I wanted to help overhaul their maintenance inventory instead. It was going to be something with less pay, but it was going to offer me like valuable experience. So I worked there for about 3 years on yearly contracts. And sometime later, an opportunity opened up for me to work as a supply chain analyst. And it came through my friend whom I met at the university, as he was leaving that position to pursue work in Ottawa. And so with the combination of relevant experience and the referral form, I ended up interviewing, getting the job. But it's been almost 4 years since, and I decided that I wanted to try something new. So I decided that I was going to pursue an MBA to kind of help me with reaching that goal. But again, just business analysis, working with numbers and things, that's kind of where my passion lied. So that just kind of happened to alter what career path I ended up taking.
That's amazing. Thank you. You never know what life has in store for you. You began your schoolwork in political science and totally ended up somewhere different. And Noor, what motivated you to choose the career path that you're in?
So actually, I had a career change when what I wanted to do. It was different from what I end up doing, and that started when I came here. My English was good enough. I didn't need to wait any time or any like. I just went right away to university, which was really good. I went to biology, and because I wanted to do sports medicine or physiotherapy. But a year and a half almost into that, I didn't really like it. I felt it was too dry for me, and it was too long of a path. I felt I wanted something that I can work with right away, and something more maybe have some creativity, something that I can wake up in the morning and wanted to go to work. And that's why I chose interior decorating. And it was the hardest decision I took, but it was the best decision I took. I'm so happy I took that decision. And I really enjoyed my program. I graduated. I just graduated. Actually, my graduation is on Wednesday, like this Wednesday, next Wednesday, and so I'm so happy I took that decision, and it was a life-changing. Yeah.
Amazing, and congratulations for your
Thank you.
graduation, early graduation. And I'm glad you're enjoying what you're doing, because that's what's most important. And now moving on. So we all have that one person who changed our life or view of the world by a single thing they may have said or done, or it's something that we like to call our role models. So who are some of the biggest role models in your life that have inspired you to become who you are today? And this time we'll start with Dennis.
Thanks. I definitely would like to kind of start off by kind of thanking my parents, just because of the leap of faith that they took here in order for my sister and I to have a better future here. And so that in and of itself just kind of inspired me to go for more and make more with my life. And that ended up, being with pursuing a university degree. And that's something that they've kind of just always wanted us to do. But I would say, as strange as it may seem, my close friend Tiago was perhaps my largest role model. And I had met him throughout my undergrad second year in university. And his cousin, also very, very smart individual, successful individual, who was his advisor and his role model. And my friend Tiago was more than willing to share that sort of knowledge and advice with me. And he would never hold back from calling me out whenever I was ready to give up. He relentlessly pushed me to achieve more, so much so that when I started my MBA, I was also working full time as an analyst. And so I'm grateful because I feel like both the ambition and the drive, it was something that allowed us to kind of form a brain trust together. And we were able to kind of talk through and make best choices to just better our lives together. So him and his level of just maturity, his level of just knowing who he was and what he wanted to do definitely kind of guided me in a way that made me want to achieve and do similar things.
Amazing. Thank you. And I think that's great. Like, not always, our role models don't always have to be someone famous or a celebrity, but I think it's most important when we have someone by our side and close to us, pushing us to achieve what we can, like to our full potential. And I think that's great that you have someone in your life who can do that for you. And Noor, how about you?
Thank you. So, as Denise said, also my parents were were and will always be my my role models, and will always see them in everything I do in my life. They also it was not easy. My parents are still back home, so it was not easy for them to send me here and my brother at a really young age alone to a different country to find a better future and to achieve our dreams and have a successful life. So it was definitely hard for them, but they never stopped supporting us or never stopped giving us like all the mental support to keep going and keep moving in our lives. I really wish to see them soon. It's been almost 4 years, but hopefully this will hopefully I'll see them soon. But another person who was next to me for the past 4 years, also my brother, my bigger brother, that he was definitely a big support here, that he was physically supporting me, like present, not only like from far away, but also presenting in my life. And I guess that's a big he was a big part of my life and my journey here in Canada.
Thank you for sharing that, Noor. And I hope you get to see your parents soon. And I'm sure they're so proud of you and everything you were able to achieve. Mohammed, how about you? Who are some of your biggest role models?
I think I have something in common between Dennis and Noor, which is the parents. My parents. I think they are the greatest role models for me. However, I think also teachers. So, after my parents, I would say teachers. Along for my journey, education journey, I had, and specifically high school teachers were my biggest role models. I had English teacher, math teacher, actually two math teachers, different level, and I've been communicating with them extensively and meeting them a lot, and they were always supportive. And I had also one of my English teachers. she used to ask me about my progress almost every week. So how are you doing in this subject? How? So that's motivated me a lot to have, it's very good to have someone looking at your work, and this also will motivate you to do more and more. Yeah, I would say teachers, specifically high school teachers. I don't know if I should mention their names, but yeah. There's Miss Leslie Cole, Mr. J. Cole, Mr. Kennedy, Miss Turner. These people, hopefully, they will hear this. But yeah, they helped me a lot along my journey in high school, and that supported me along it. I graduated in 2018 from high school, but still their impact, and I still remember all their advice, and they they helped me a lot to achieve my goals.
That's amazing. Thank you, Mohammed. And I think there's a common theme between everyone, family, and those close to us. And definitely, you know what they say, your teachers are like your second parents. And it's great once you have a good relationship with your teacher, it really helps with everything that you're doing. It's just more than, it's beyond just your education. And like they really help with like giving you tips and really guiding you and helping you with life. Now, moving on, what helped facilitate your journey to success, and what were some of the obstacles and challenges you faced when pursuing your career goals? So I'd like to start with Noor for this one.
Hey, thank you. So again, I guess having supportive parents and family, maybe also a small community around me, helped me to keep moving, and no matter how hard it is, just to keep fighting, keep working harder and harder to achieve those goals. Um, but some of the barriers, I guess, maybe, although like no matter how like good of a language you have, but there's still some culture differences and some terms maybe that you don't learn at school. You just need to live here to learn it. And I feel at the beginning that was a big barrier, that like some people will just didn't understand you well, or didn't really think right of you, just because you don't use those terms, or you don't talk the way they want you to talk or speak. But I guess by time this will not be a problem. Like this barrier will vanish by time. It's just a matter of time when you first arrive. And other than the language, I guess uh, is I'm just reading here because I wrote it down before. Yeah, is just to get adapted to the new life you have. Like, just because everything is new here, like not the way just the lifestyle, the weather, the transportation, every small thing is new to you, and just getting adapted to all those new things will just make things easier, I guess. But in the beginning, it was a big barrier for me, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely takes some time to getting used to. I like how you mentioned weather as well. That's something not a lot of people consider, but it is a really big factor. Like some countries don't have a winter with snow, so definitely a big change. How about you, Mohammed? Were any of these challenges similar to yours, or?
Well, I think when you are a refugee, you will face a lot of challenges, a lot, and you cannot count them. But the one that's sticking in my head still are the English. One of the biggest challenges, I would say. It's communication. You lose the biggest thing, which is to communicate with the other people. It took me almost a year to get used to it and be able to make connections and relationship with the people, like make friends and more than that. But yeah, so I would say the biggest one is language. The second thing about throughout my education journey was as every student, physics, mathematics, and like all the courses I was taking. So these were all challenges I was facing. The third challenge, I would say, the system, like the system we have. Let's say for example, here in Canada, we have a lot of great things, but at the same time, we have things that are not the best, like the healthcare system. So this was a huge challenge as well. Um, like if you want to go to a doctor, you cannot communicate with them, as well as you have to wait a lot of time uh, to make helping my parents to communicate with the doctors. That was a challenge. It was very challenging in the beginning, but to overcome that, I from the educational side, just hard work, um, consistency, just keep doing the same work, organizing, time management, I would say. So these all helped me to overcome all of these obstacles. Um, from the other side I was mentioning, the healthcare system, it's basically asking people, asking friends to help, trying to get help. That also helped me to overcome this, and trying to find doctors who speak the same language. That's also something. Yeah, I said I said three things. What was the third one? Yeah, so the education. Oh, the language. Yeah, the language one, which is the biggest one. For the language, I had to spend more time like speaking with people, trying to speak, not being shy of speaking. Languages, I found that language, you cannot learn it, you have to practice it. Like it's you cannot just say I'm going to learn driving. You need to drive, same idea. So same thing, to overcome this challenge, I had to speak, even though sometimes I used to say things that are silly or things are unacceptable, but I wasn't shy of that, and that helped me a lot to improve my language, my pronunciation, my all my communications, in general. Yeah, these are some of the obstacles, and I hope they get benefit from the way to overcome them.
For sure. Thank you. Those were some great tips, Mohammed. And you're right. Definitely, like driving or anything, language is something practical. If you don't speak, then, it'll be hard to learn it. Denise, how about you? What helped facilitate your journey to success, and what were some of the obstacles and challenges you faced when pursuing your career goals?
It's funny because I feel like my perspective is different in a sense that for me, coming to Canada, being a newcomer was like 19 years ago. So some of the stuff that you guys mentioned, specifically about like the language and the weather, for example, like I didn't think of it when I was just kind of writing my points down, but it's things that I almost had like flashbacks to as soon as you guys started mentioning it. So imagine like being grade 3 and all of a sudden from Turkey, you come to a place like Canada and you have snowstorms where the snowbanks are as high as you are. So it was definitely a challenge getting to the bus stop and going to school some days. But with regards to the language too, I'm again in complete agreement in the sense that you really have to immerse yourself. Learning from textbook, learning from videos is one thing, but being able to converse and talk to people is another, whether they're native speakers or whether they're other immigrants and refugees and other newcomers. I find that like being immersed definitely helped me grasp the language a lot faster. And it also, kind of helps when you're young and it's just easier for you to kind of get an understanding of the language. And in a sense, your parents heavily relying on you for absolutely everything. So, going to even get something as simple as like insurance for your car, me being, grade 4, grade 5, I'd still be in those conversations trying to translate for my parents between the representative and them. So there were quite a bit boring times for me there. But with regards to just kind of looking onward in my experience, I kind of want to come back to a little bit of networking for sure. I think it's like the largest thing that's kind of facilitated my journey and success. And whether that was like the first day came to Canada or even, today, it's definitely been the biggest factor, I would say. And I know my parents didn't necessarily want to get involved with the Turkish community and stuff like that. They were just hardworking individuals who just decided, you know what, my goal, my responsibility is to provide some sort of financial security for my kids, so my kids don't have to worry. They can go pursue school. So for them, life was just work and home and nothing really else in between. So it's funny because nowadays we kind of reflect back and my parents are like, man, like there's a lot of things we had to learn on our own, and there was a lot of things that we learned through trial and error that we would have been it just would have been done a lot easier had we went out of our way to kind of make connections with other people. Like with that being said, people in support services were absolutely everywhere that they could be, and I cannot thank them enough. But I think some of the like you don't even realize some of the difficulties that you face because you don't know some of the problems that there's only so much you can kind of anticipate. That I feel like if you were kind of getting advice from a person who's just been there and done it, there's a lot of that minute stuff that kind of could have been helped with, I guess. So and again, with networking, I mentioned one of my friends earlier, but there's a saying where they say like you are who you surround yourself with. So especially being, a young kid, and I believe it even applies all the way up to high school, university, no matter where like people actually do rub off on you. So especially those close friends. So if they're smart, if they're good, if they're caring, and if they're genuinely the ones to kind of help build others around them to succeed, it really opens up plenty of opportunities and unlocks a lot of potential, even within yourself. So just not to drag on too much further, the obstacles I kind of faced in pursuing my career goals is I didn't necessarily think early enough about the career path I wanted to take, even in high school and stuff like that. Although I'm glad and I'm happy where I landed, just kind of being out there in the working world and seeing the sheer number of possibilities, like you really can go and be anything you want. So I think taking a deeper look and a deeper dive into everything else, I might have been going for something even more ambitious than what I've achieved today. So.
Thank you, Dennis. Those were some great tips and advice, especially for our youth today. And it kind of leads into our next question. So what is one piece of advice you wish someone had told you, or you wish you would have known that you would give to youth today? And this can be advice related to your career or just life in general, or perhaps even a piece of advice that someone gave you and it really helped you. So I'd like to turn to Mohammed first for this one.
Sure. Actually, this is my favorite question. Giving someone, I mean, I hear this question a lot, but in different topics. So, for example, this question I used to asking my teachers, what's the thing that you wish you knew, have known when you were a student? But yeah, I would talk about my before entering university. I think one thing I didn't know, which is gonna be funny, but in the beginning, when after like being in high school almost 1 year, I didn't know about like resources that can help you manage your time, resources that can help you like guide you to do your tasks, let's say. So if you have, let's say, math problem, I didn't know that you can just go. There are specific sites that you can find that can help you do your math problems. This is something after a year I realized that there are so many resources out there, but I didn't know about. Another thing I would say is having fun in your journey. So this, I know it's going to sound different, weird, but this is something very important, especially for youth, young people. If you are in high school, try to live the moment, have fun in your time, and don't live the future. When I was in high school, I had a lot of fun. I was involved with many activities, but I actually had the time to do more, and I was just looking to university when I was in high school. And that's, I think it's not the right thing to do. I think the right thing to do is live the moment. I know it's a good to have a goal, but live the moment, have fun with what you have, uh, be involved with the community around you, let's say in high school, or if you are still not even in high school, be involved with your community. This is something very important. And I really, when I look back to high school, I really like miss high school, and you need to have good memories. You know, it's I think about it as path. You know, it's like we have a path, high school path. You have a, a university path, and you have career path. And you know, the longest one's gonna be the career, and maybe you'll have a retirement path, right? So looking to these paths, each path I really recommend. I really wish someone have told me that, you know, you have this, you're doing well, but also make sure you do the great things as well. Have fun with it. Don't basically be all your brain going into maths and physics problems. Uh, so yeah, this is a very important point for me. I look back and I really wish everyone is I mean, this is an advice I would share with everyone. Another thing, I mean, the last thing, which is also related to what I said, is the time. There are so many great things about time management. There are so many ways to organize your time. Even though still young, there are a lot of ways to improve your time management skills. And I wish someone have told me this, and someone have told me you can actually um, improve this. And last one I want to share with you is uh, it's especially for newcomers. It's not wrong to go ask someone who have done something uh, to how do you do it. For example, let's say you want to be an aerospace engineer. It's not wrong to actually go to university or go see someone who have done this and ask him about it. When I was a newcomer, I thought it's not polite or something you shouldn't be doing. It's something not that, like, yeah, that's how I thought because I was a newcomer. But later on I realized no, it's the opposite, and people actually enjoying talking about their experience, and they love sharing their ideas and advice. So yeah, these are a few points. I hope they are helpful.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Those were all great points. I see why this was your favorite question. You touched on so many different things. That was so great. My favorite one was actually how you talked about just living in the present. Like, you know, you're gonna eventually get to the future, hopefully, but you can never go back in time. So just enjoy it and try your best, and hopefully hope for the best, and you'll get there. How about you, Dennis? I'll turn to Dennis next. What pieces of advice do you have?
Sure. So I've actually got pretty similar advice to what Mohammed said. One thing I just kind of go further on is, in my experience, kind of keeping in touch with school counselors in high school really, really helped. They told me, you know, my options for university, what kind of things I could do, career paths, that they provide me all sorts of resources. And going forward too, I remember one of my high school teachers saying that, like, um, in order to have the most stress-free way, like time during your university, you should make sure that you're doing your yearly check-ins to make sure you're on track with your academic advisor in university. And that I took to heart, and I did that every year. And she was a great individual that I worked with, but it let me know about the programs that were available in school. It let me know about all the extracurricular activities that I could be doing. I learned about just like all the requirements that I had to fulfill. The fact that my degree also had specializations that I was able to pursue. Another thing that was also mentioned was the internet. It's honestly an unbelievable resource. The sheer amount of stuff that you could just learn, even on your own, is absolutely amazing. I feel like I've pretty much learned just as much as I did, you know, going to school as I did in like just being hours and hours of going online, whether it's reading documentaries or, you know, math help resources, anything. Going like little past that, in a sense, try to actually focus on what truly interests you, live in the moment. And for me, the advice varies a little bit here, but try to have some sort of little goals to kind of contribute and help your future self a little bit. And again, whether that's working on your grades during school to help with your career going forward, or whether that's kind of saving and putting money away for even retirement and stuff like that. And I think like I personally wasn't the greatest at personal finances and stuff like that, unfortunately, when I was younger. I found the value of really being good with that. And that alone even has opened up opportunities for me to even further pursue my master's degree and such. And I feel like the sooner you get a head start in that, it's like the more you are able to reap the rewards when it comes to that. So.
Thank you, Dennis. That was great advice. And you're definitely right. Setting little goals will help you reach your bigger goal at the end faster. And you're right, there's so many resources out there. We just have to spend some time looking through them, because there's so many out there, and hopefully having accessible resources in different languages for those who are newcomers is very important as well. And Noor, I would like to turn to you as well and hear what you have to say.
Thank you. First, I'd like to mention that Mohammed and Denise has like really good point, and I totally agree with all of them. I'm gonna just share a piece of advice that I wish someone had told me. It's a little bit different than what they mentioned, and I'll explain in a bit. It's that it's not easy. It's just but if you work hard enough, you'll get there. It's not easy because I came here, I was like 18, so I didn't come here as a kid where I can adapt easily, or I came here in the age of 18, and it was just life changing, and I was aware of everything around me, so it was not easy to adapt. But and I thought that I'm gonna talk from my athletic background a little bit here, just I thought that I'm coming to a country where I have like sports is really important. It's so popular. I'm just gonna go in and just play in a team right away, and that's the dream, and that's it. But it's not that easy. You actually need to have a lot of connection. You need to go and do a lot of tryouts. You need to communicate with so many like universities or colleges to try to go in, and you need to attend so many practices before actually getting accepted. You need to work hard even at parks by yourself just to be at the level where you can actually prove yourself and get in. So it's not easy for me. I don't know, I guess many newcomers have the same idea where once you're here you can do whatever you want. It's not that easy, but if you need to work hard, just work hard and then you'll get there. I feel it's just a matter of time, and if you actually want that goal, and then you'll have it. Yes.
Thank you, Noor. And you're definitely right. And I think it's something that extends just beyond newcomers, but even people growing up in the system here, like, I don't know, let's say someone wants to play for like Team Canada, whether it be soccer, basketball, it's not as easy as it may seem. It's definitely a lot of hard work, and a lot of networking and connections are needed in order to get there. So it is definitely a long process. But like you said, if it's something that you really want, you put in the work and hopefully you'll get there. Moving on, life back home is definitely very different to the life that we live here in Canada, which definitely impacts both mindset and life decisions. So knowing this, did you have a different set of goals when you were back home versus when you settled in Canada, and how were they different? And I'd like to start with Dennis here.
Yeah, being young, I don't necessarily know. I can't remember that far back about what my goals were. So I can't speak much when it comes to that aspect of things, but I can definitely speak about the opportunity and possibility of making it happen. And I think that was definitely like something that, you know, I realized a lot going back, that like no matter what I've chose, it would have been 10, 20 times more difficult back home in Turkey. And that's just because, you know, the lack of opportunity, all the bureaucratic red tape, you know, like accessibility to like higher education. It's just, it's stuff that it's easy to take granted here, knowing that, especially since because you can take, you know, cheap student loans, you can get bursaries, you could get scholarships and stuff like that here. You could read at really good schools, you can do whatever you want to be, you know, as long as you're willing to put in that work. So you know, that's probably as far as, you know, I could probably go when talking about this topic. But with regards to my goals, I would say it just, whatever it was, it made it much more attainable. It definitely broadened my horizons just because of the sheer number of possibilities I saw being here. And that's all I would say about this topic.
Definitely. Thank you, Dennis. And Noor, I'm going to turn to you next, and I'm sure your experience is going to be different than Dennis, because you were 18, you mentioned, when you came here, so you were much older than Dennis.
Yes, totally. So I came here in an age where I had to decide what I need to study right away. All actually, I had like a thoughts of, I had so many thoughts that I want to do this, I want to do that, and as I mentioned, I had a career change a year and a half later. So I came here and I wanted to do sports medicine or physiotherapy, anything that related to sports and science, because I love those two, and I wanted to have just a combination of both to work with. I just wanted to work with athletes in general, but and that's what I did. I started in biology, and a year and a half later, I decided that it was too dry to me, and I felt that I have more like energy that I can put it somewhere else, or just find another path. And it was so difficult to take that decision, because you always think you're wrong. That no, changing your career or taking this big decision will just be wrong, or you just so afraid to regret this decision. But sometimes we need to open new doors to actually go somewhere bigger and somewhere we love more, or we can be successful in. And that's what I did. I changed into interior decorating, and it was so different. Like, it was a big change, because just being in science, and even I had to change teams, because at Carleton I was on the swim team at Carleton, and I had to change to Algonquin College, where I did basketball. So it was not easy. I was so afraid to not be able to go in any sports, or just play any sports on any other university or college. So it was not easy, but I felt it was the best decision I took. It really just helped me. It was so stressful being in a place where you don't think you're in the right place, or you don't know where you're going to end up being. So changing to interior decorating, I was so relieved, and it felt right. And that was really important. So don't be afraid of changing careers or taking big decisions. It's just opening new doors, not just canceling your plans. It's just new doors.
Thank you. That's amazing. And I'm glad that you were able to hold on to that piece of like that athlete side of you from back home, and still, you know, show your talents here in Canada with both the University of Carleton swimming and basketball at Algonquin. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
No problem. And Mohammed, let me just repeat the question for you just in case. So, did you have a different set of goals when you were back home versus when you settled in Canada, and how were they different?
Actually, when I was back home, Syria is, I'm originally from Syria, and when I was in Syria, I was almost even younger. I was 14 going to 15, so I was very young at that time. But at that time, I always wanted to be do something like about lawyer or in Syria. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but being a lawyer and after that you can become a judge. I really loved that, the idea of that. I finished grade 9 in Syria, um, and then the war started, the situation started, and then I had to. My journey started from there, which is like being a refugee, and then after that, that stopped. I went when I went to Lebanon. um, I I had the idea like every year I didn't lose hope of getting back to Syria and learning, getting back to school, but I was like, maybe not, like you never know. Let's do something useful while you are a refugee. So I decided to. This is by again advice of my parents. They let me work in a garage, which is fixing cars in Lebanon, and I started learning about cars. And that's I was doing that until 2016 when I came to Canada. When I came to Canada, all of my I was just thinking about cars. There's no way to get back to school. Like I'm 18. I'm too old for school. But I found the right people told me the right words, which is nothing is impossible, and you can do whatever you want, whatever you're passionate about. Now, the level of my English, and after going through this, anything about justice went away because just my interest changed to cars, airplanes. I wasn't very interested about airplanes, but mostly cars. And then I decided to in high school I decided to study aerospace engineering. Um, so yeah, after all of that, I my decision started when I was in high school, and I really recommend youth, young people who really still not sure about what they should do. There are a lot of programs, a lot of online websites, especially if you go to Algonquin College website, you can find basically a questionnaire that you should answer, and it's going to tell you what you should study or what's good for you. I always like that. I always have my own decision, but I always like to double check. And after double checking that, I was so happy when I saw the airplane. I was like, yes, like this is what I wanted to do. This is great. Like, but my intuition wanted to do aerospace engineering, but I was a little bit scared, and I wasn't. Uh, I didn't believe in myself in the beginning. Um, after this experience, being a refugee 3 4 years, I didn't expect that I will get back to normal and succeed in these difficult courses. But again, hard work, um, uh, asking the right people, having relationship with your teachers will get you to where you want to be. And then at the end, I was accepted to Carleton University. I was accepted to, I applied to other university. I was accepted as well, but Carleton is the one I chose. And so after all of that, I am very happy about my decision.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. That's truly inspirational, and it just shows like how much courage you had to, like, it was not too late. You noticed that and acknowledged that it's never too late, and look where you are today. It's amazing. You're almost done, and that is great. Now moving on, I'm going to start with Noor for this question. So I can imagine how difficult it may have been to leave a sweet place called home, along with the people you know, love, and care about, to come to a brand new place with different norms, different people, and an entire new language, something we've touched on a lot tonight. With this in mind, how were you able to cope with separation from your homeland?
Unfortunately, I was not able to cope with that. I still like, especially that my parents are still back home. So it's not that I can just forget about it and keep moving. And other than that, I have great memories too. I have friends and family that are still there. So it was not easy for me. um, and I don't think that I'll be able to just forget about everything that easily. But I learned to just deal with it and to just take the good thing out of it. So just remember the good memories and the good days and the good people, and smile whenever I think of it. And I think that's it.
Thank you for sharing that, Nurin. Hopefully, um, you'll get to see your parents again soon, and definitely your situation is tough, but like you said, dealing with it and putting on a smile definitely will help you get through it. And I hope it gets easier for you. And I'll switch to Mohammed now.
Yeah, so you know, like after leaving home and then being a refugee, I missed home a lot. But after almost like a long time being a refugee, I got used to it, and like I am just gonna continue, and I started like no matter what, sometimes like life will take you a different direction. You have to deal with it, and live with it. Again, as Noor mentioned, keep the smile. So even I was refugee, but I was smiling. I was happy all the time because it's life. It's part. Like what can you do? Uh, and this experience of having COVID is almost similar situation. Like all of a sudden something come up. We have to keep smiling. We have to share hope and be always optimistic about it every day. Um, yeah, but when I arrived to Canada, the people, I was very inspired by the people, the Kenyan people, and like when I came, the way they welcomed me, they were very welcoming. And I felt very welcome there. I felt this is going to be a home, and that's how my mindset start to change. This is going to be my home. Uh, and the idea of refugee still in my mind. It's still a refugee, but it's funny. When one day I went to the immigration center in Ottawa, and I saw a picture of Einstein, and it was like, what's Einstein is doing here? Like it's immigration center, but underneath three words entirely changed the way I think about refugees. And it was like it was a quote. I didn't remember the quote at that time, but I remember the three words: Einstein was a refugee, and that gave me a lot of hope, and that gave me a lot of like refugees can do great things, and you shouldn't be proud of being a refugee. And also, this is your home. I did my research. Einstein, they call him a great American now. um, and this is my home. I just my mindset is this is my home, and I'm gonna do my best to give back to my community, help the people around me, the same as they did to me. And I also, after that, I got I became a Canadian citizen through the ceremony. I feel it's home. So how to overcome that is basically just have the love inside you, and loving the community around you, loving the people around you. You will feel happy. And then again, anywhere in the world, it's about the people, and if you love the people around you, you'll be happy. That's how my mindset was, and that's how I think about it still. It's like about uh, loving the people around you, um, and yeah, sharing just keeping the mindset of giving back to the community. And yeah, that's how. I hope this is helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you for sharing that story. And I definitely think it's very helpful for newcomer youth, and giving them tips on how they can deal with separation. And lastly, Dennis, I know you came here when you were a lot younger, so if you have any memories or flashbacks of how you must have felt like as a young kid coming to Canada.
Yeah, of course. I think with any sort of huge change in your life like that, it's just kind of moments that stick with you for sure. Regardless of your age, you just happen to remember those kind of things. So with that being said, a lot of the stuff both Noor and Muhammad covered, like it's not easy. You definitely end up missing home. in some cases, you know that you can't necessarily even return home. I mean, Turkey was, nowhere as bad as what happened in Syria, where war broke out. But it's it's tough not being able to come back, especially for a long period of time where relatives pass away, you can't make it, you mourn in like in isolation, and it was a rough time for the family. But I think time helps. Certainly, friends in your ethnic community helps because you share that culture, you share that language, and even if it's for like an hour or so, even a week, it brings sort of some of those memories, some of those interactions and stuff like that back. Um, Being with other immigrants and refugees help, and it doesn't matter where they're from. And I can just speak for that from experience. My family certainly met a lot of good friends while receiving help from support services, while learning and being a part of ESL. We made friends with people from Venezuela, Colombia, Eritrea, Russia, like people like that. Me as a Turk, or my parents, like we, never would have met these people, but because of shared experiences, we really had a bond. And even though all sides barely knew any English, with gestures and stuff like that, you can find ways to communicate. So moments like that always just kind of stuck and helped me cope. And I think the one final thing, just to kind of make it quick, that I'll say is Canadians for sure help you cope with the separation, because I think, and it doesn't matter if it's a person on the street, it doesn't matter if it's a support worker or a teacher. It's absolutely amazing seeing how welcoming and friendly and helpful people are from all faiths and all walks of life. And people go out of their way to make you feel like you're part of this community, make you feel like Canada is your home. And we like as a family, and speaking on behalf of them, we truly owe everyone a lot. So
Thank you so much for sharing that, Dennis. And it's kind of connected to our last question for the panel. How long did it take you to feel accepted by Canadian society? And I'd like you to use your own interpretation of what it may feel like to be accepted, or what it may mean to be accepted by Canadian society. And I'll turn to Mohammed first for this.
I would say accepted, for me, a definition of accepted is being welcomed. Like in the beginning, when I came to Canada, I was always supported by a lot of like the community around me, and that's how I felt I'm accepted. But accepted, there's also another way I look at it, which is having like you see community helping you to live, but the other side I look at it is making friends and connecting with people in your age. That took me a little bit of time, so it took me almost more than a year or even more, because of the language, especially the people, the young people. It's very difficult for them, like nowadays, especially like the young age, they don't make a relationship with like, let's say, friends, if there's no common interest and things like that. Especially, and when I was here, I was speaking Arabic, and no one speaks Arabic, so that was one thing that's yeah. So I would say it took me a year to get the, but since day one I was accepted by as a community. I felt like I'm home. I felt like I'm welcomed. But yeah, so I hope this is helpful.
Thank you. That's amazing to hear. I'll turn to Dennis next for this. I know you touched on it a bit earlier.
yeah, I would say felt accepted immediately, and I don't mean that in any sort of like any other way. And the thing is, it's everybody that's been a part of our lives made us feel like we belonged, and certainly everybody helped. Even with our parents, just like tell them, hey, maybe you should consider, your kids joining Scouts. So Scouts was a big part of what I did growing up. Then when I was in high school, I was part of the Air Cadets. That was also another big part of what I did growing up. And so just kind of involvement with community, doing these extracurricular things, and these kind of interactions also forced my parents to come out too. So in a way, they got to get involved and things like that. And I think like times right now too might seem especially tough with like rising Islamophobia and stuff like that. But I mean, we came in 2002, a year after 9/11 attacks, and I feel like the incidences we see here and there are no reflection of people and who they are. Um, like Canada is truly an amazing country, and I wholeheartedly mean that. And if there's one thing I know, it truly is a multicultural country. Like I step out of my apartment, I can like name you 50 nationalities I've seen today, and everybody truly embraces that. So that's great. And the one final thing I'll add to it was when people ask me if I'm more like Turkish or Canadian, I always tell them I feel like I'm a melting pot of both. Both have become like ingrained within my identity, and I'm proud to say that just because who I am today was shaped by both, what I was born into, who I was, and my ethnic background, but then also how I grow up, how I grew up here, how I was exposed to opportunities here, how I made friendships here, how I've managed to create a life here. So, nothing but love.
Thank you. It's so amazing to hear that, and I'm sure both sides did contribute and help get you where you are today, and that's great to hear. And lastly, Noor, I'll just repeat the question just in case we need to go over it, but how long did it take you to feel accepted by Canadian society? And accepted can be your own interpretation of what that may feel or mean to you.
Yeah, so as Denise and Muhammad said, so I felt accepted right away, and I don't think for one day I felt that I cannot belong here, which is great. And that can be just from small experiences, just like going on the bus for the first time and asking the bus driver, where's my stop? And he would answer you, and he would tell you, oh, where are you from? Like, is it your first time on the bus? Like, he would definitely just help you in any way. And that's only a really small example. And as Denise said too, that people here are really open to culture, and even if they don't know anything about your culture or your language or anything, they would just ask you and just to know more, and they would really like right away accept your thoughts and what you believe in or where you came from, and they would be really interested in what you're saying, which is great. But I would like to take this question a little bit further to deliver a small message. I felt accepted in a term, in a different term, where I was successful or where I accomplished something. I felt accepted more. So, for example, in the beginning of a basketball season, I played 10 minutes. By the end of it, I was playing 33, and that's where I felt accepted, where I was successful, where I worked hard to be part of this team, to be part of this community, if you want to take it, or to be part of the school or the place you live in. So just a message where you just work hard, and that's how you embrace yourself, and that's how you will be accepted. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. You're always lovely advice. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of our panel discussion. I'd like to thank the three of you, Noor, Dennis, and Mohammed, for sharing such inspirational words and personal experiences with all of us. I hope we can all take this as an opportunity to appreciate and celebrate everything the three of you have achieved, but also take it as an opportunity to realize that no matter what life throws at you, if you want to go after something that you love and you know that it's good for you, then there's nothing that can come between you and your goals. I would also like to thank our wonderful audience for being so attentive and respectful during this panel. We're now going to take a short 2-minute break. And if you have not done so already, feel free to type in any questions you may have for our lovely panelists in the chat box. And when we get back, we'll answer them during our Q&A session. So please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with you in 2 minutes. So enjoy your short break, everyone. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being so patient. So we're just gonna jump right in. So the first question we have is, what advice would you offer to committees who support to help new refugees? So for the sake of time, I'm just gonna address one question per panelist. So I guess we can start with Mohammed. So what advice would you offer to committees who supports to help new refugees?
This is a great question, and this is also, I love hearing this question, because, and I hope the committees can do something about helping new refugees. First thing I advise, I would say, you need to have to assume that these people you are bringing here needs a lot of help and assistance. Second thing is, don't expect something from them right away. So let's say you bring a refugees. If you are helping refugees, don't expect to see results right away, like after 2 years, and then what refugees have done, what refugees haven't done. That's what sometimes they see on media, and I don't think that's the good thing this is the good way. Yeah. So that like the main thing is to assume that they need a lot of assistance. Um, Also assume that like some like a lot of basic things. I know so many people, like they didn't even attend school back home. Unfortunately, like some countries have bad education system, so I know people who actually still don't know how to read and write. So this is also very important. When you have this in mind, you will like some legal work or legal paper, you will basically know more about the refugees. Yeah, that's what I think about more, the most, is basically this assumption. Um, uh, like for the committees, I'm not sure exactly, but I would assume also what help can they offer. I would say, like as I mentioned at the beginning, having someone to assist you for 1 year, like the one we had as a family, helped a lot. So this is very important, and I think this is should continue for newcomers. Um, uh, what else I would think about? Like there are so many things, but I don't have a lot of in mind at this moment. Yeah, and also the language. So I see a lot of organizations that focus on specific aspects, but I wish that most of the organization focus on the language to help newcomers, because I think I feel like language is the key. Like whenever you have the language, you can do. Um, so yeah, if you want to see success from refugees, focus on the language. Try to help them uh, understand the culture as well. I forget this one. Uh, Increase. I know there are so many programs to educate newcomers, but I feel like language and culture, they need to be understood more. Lastly is awareness. For example, spread awareness, and especially for these communities, this is, I think, also important, especially in our time. You see it sometimes in news around, and some Islamophobic attacks and things like that. I think raising awareness and trying to make the people feel more. I don't know exactly how this will work for them, but there is a way. I'm sure there is a way to help these people. I'll give you an example. Like, let's say I met a person who was a newcomer, and he was very worried about the situation and what happened in London, Ontario. But he's just scared, and I had to. But if you have an organization that can educate them and make them feel more, um,
Give them hope.
yes, yeah. I hope this is helpful. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, Mohammed. I'll turn to Noor next. So the question states, unfortunately, Islamophobia and racism continue to be serious issues in Canada. Have you had any firsthand experience of oppression based on religion, identity, or ethnicity? Have you ever been a target to oppression because of your identity?
That's a really important and big question. I feel the topic is really important and sensitive. But I guess not. Me as an Arab, they like, even though like I'm a Christian, but that doesn't mean anything. It's just that identity of where you're an Arab that just will make people sometimes assume that that you're not, for example, like you don't have the knowledge, you've been just living the worst life ever, you don't have the experience, you don't like, they think less of you or they think bad of you, which is that's from my experience, which is really sad, because it's not that way. There's a lot of intelligent people who are Arabs and or all around the world from any country. There is really good people. There is a lot of uh, people who are willing to sacrifice themselves for like for good reasons, and they also uh, wanted to achieve more dream, they wanted to study, they wanted to just live peacefully, but they're just getting judged, and they're getting uh, um, the the people assume that they're not good, or they don't want them here, or they're not welcome, which is really unfortunate and really sad, especially at this time where people are more aware of what's happening around the world, are aware of more like cultures are aware. Like there's everything on social media, everything on the internet. It's not that they don't know anything about the like overseas. So it's really sad, and I've been like I've faced the few of those um, uh, I guess problems. But again, um, we all know who we are, and we know that we're good, and we can show that we're good. And by showing that we're good, by showing that we're here to actually um, achieve goals, to become good people in the society, to help the society and to improve the society, that's where we can that's where we can actually show that it's not the way people think it is.
Definitely agree with you. Thank you, Noor, for sharing that. And I'm going to turn to Dennis. If you could advocate with municipal, provincial, or the federal government about one issue for refugees, what would it be?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think all the questions were definitely a little tough, especially because, like, in a sense, for me, this was something years ago. So, like, things like the language barrier seem to be so far the distant past now. But I feel like the one thing I would kind of say is probably offering programs with more in line related with like home economics in a sense. And the reason why I kind of mentioned that is because like just things of doing things back home were just so different from my parents, right? So like not only you're dealing with different laws, right? You're dealing with different application processes. You're looking at paperwork now in a completely different language. And I mean, back when we came, like we had no internet access back in Turkey. So I kind of grew up with the internet only here and didn't really realize how valuable of a resource it was and it could have been. And so I find that through like day-to-day stuff that my parents kind of had to put up with, whether, something as simple as like a rental application to you being able to buy your first secondhand car, um, and go into a Service Ontario or Service Canada for either going through a job bank or applying for something or like looking through your resumes, finding those job opportunities. I know these are some of the services that are definitely offered, but I feel like it needs a little bit of a work. Um, uh, and yeah, I mean, tying back to the home economics part is just kind of teaching my parents, I guess back then, about the value of saving, the value of investing, and things like that. They're great tools that every day I see everyday Canadians using, and part of me maybe has a bias to this because, funny enough, I started my undergrad in economics and I moved into political science. But I find that again, kind of help with these kind of day-to-day tasks would have made transition much more easier. It would have made kind of getting off the ground a lot easier, and it would have just helped us instead of constantly kind of trying to struggle to kind of make ends meet for a here and now kind of thing, especially because my parents didn't really come from amazing academic backgrounds. That like it was information that would have been valuable to have some advice on and to have help in.
Thank you, definitely. I agree. And our last question, we're running on 1 minute, so I guess I will turn back to Mohammed and maybe you could give me a nice short answer for this one. So what was your initial impression of Canada prior to moving here? And did the Canadian society meet your initial expectations?
I the impression was cold, like a piece of ice. Like that's how I thought, and I was scared of, especially when I arrived. I was in Montreal. I was scared of that, but then things went better when I came to Ottawa. Yeah, so I was expecting it's gonna be cold. I didn't expect I didn't expect people to be like I didn't expect people to be as welcoming as they were. So this was something exceeded my expectation. That exceeded my expectation. They were very welcoming, very nice, very polite people, opening the door and saying thank you a lot, thank you, like that's something I didn't expect. Yeah. So yes, these things. I hope this is answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mohammed. Thank you all so much, and for everyone who posed their questions. And I'd just like to turn back to Amel for closing remarks.
Thank you, Mahasma, and you basically covered all of the thank yous. I do want to thank the panelists so much. I was in constant communication with them, with Dennis, Noor, Mohammed, who you so generously shared your stories, your very inspiring stories with us today, and allowed us to celebrate your contributions. I'm also grateful to everyone who has joined us this evening, and I hope we continue celebrating and being a part of other events in honor of World Refugee Week. I'm sure other organizations have so many planned. And thank you, a big thank you to all Canadian refugees across the nation for their inspiring strength and resilience. I cannot simply imagine how difficult it must be to move to a foreign land and leave loved ones behind. So thank you for that. And lastly, as settlers and beneficiaries of this land, I'd like to conclude this evening by giving a heartfelt thank you to the Indigenous peoples in the land that we stand on this evening, because as newcomers, as an immigrant myself, and as refugees, we have the privilege to build a home here in Canada, and it's all thanks to them. So have a lovely, lovely evening, everyone. And thanks again. Plenty of thanks.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Have a good night.